What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode, Straightforward Podcast. Today's guest, her name is Whitney Stevenson. She is a gym owner. She's a personal trainer. She's a former collegiate, semi-pro swimmer, like the whole thing. She's very athletic. She competes in CrossFit, very good at CrossFit. And today she is going to drop the absolute hammer on you guys on how to keep fitness really simple, right? And how to get more in tune with your body and really get the most out of your time in the gym. So I'm actually really excited for the knowledge she's going to drop today, but I'm going to hand it over to her and just let her tell a little bit about her story, and then we'll
All
go
right.
from
Hey
there.
guys. Yeah, so I have a kind of a crazy story. I've been an athlete my whole life. Like my mom would say, like in the womb, I was like an athlete moving around. Movement was always something that I really identified with, like moving my body. I mean, my parents put me through every sport growing up until I kind of honed in on swimming. And then swimming really carried me through high school and then college. I went to two Division I schools, competed in swimming. That was kind of like my main shtick. Everyone's like, "Well, what'd you study?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I had these majors, but I was there to swim." Um, and that
Yeah,
was just something I really, really, I loved. That was my passion. It was kind of what drove me, was to, set these goals, work really hard in the pool, and then try to accomplish them or get as close to them as I possibly could. Um, and then, so I did that through 2012. I tried out for the London Olympic Games in swimming. Went to Omaha, competed at trials, didn't make the team. And then I was like, oh man, I have no identity. Like, even though I did all these things, like I was very into a lot of different things in school, but I was so focused on swimming that I kind of was like, I don't know what to do anymore. Just kind of,
yeah,
I think everyone goes through that little identity crisis when they lose their sport, especially something they've been doing for so long. And I remember going to the gym and I'd be on like the treadmill, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'd go to the elliptical and I'd cry and I'd be like, what is happening? Like, why am I working out? Like, what is the point? Because to me, movement and this like, expression of athleticism was always geared towards like a goal. Like I always had like a time, or I was
right.
going to a certain meet, or I wanted to make a certain team. I want to make the travel team, I want to go to NCAAs, want to make the Olympic team. So I always had this like tangible thing. And then when that went away, it was a big shift for me to understand and really love like moving my body and love fitness, because I needed something to push me, or else I was kind of like, well, what's the point? I'm 24. What's the point? Um, so I struggled with that for a while. I got into some yoga. My life kind of like switched around because I was getting a job and I was shifting out of being like a college athlete to like, all right, what am I doing next? And slowly, this was
Yeah,
around, 2014, 2015. So like the CrossFit boom was happening. And at the time I was living not very far from a CrossFit gym, and I had like a scooter. So I scootered over to the gym just to like check it out, like a little Vespa. So I scootered over and I was like, man, this is like nutty. This thing is crazy. I'm like an amazing athlete and I suck at this. And like, because I sucked at it, I just like dove in. I was like, I gotta get good at this. So
yeah,
then, started getting better and better. I was working a retail job at the time, and then I just kind of like everything just started to shift, and wanted to spend more time at the gym. I wanted to spend less time at this job, and I was like, what am I doing? And I kind of found like a goal again. Like I kind of found this like physical goal. And instead of it being this, time or this making this team, now this goal was like, okay, now I'm having this conversation in my head about like, I cannot lift this weight. Like I literally cannot pick it up. And then all of a sudden, like this conversation going on in my head was like very apparent to me. I mean, you would think it would be apparent after staring at a black line swimming in a pool for 20 something years, but it wasn't. It wasn't until I was like really met with this resistance, like actual resistance, that I went, whoa, this is a conversation I'm having, and like what's going on. So that kind of was like, I remember
yeah,
the first moment of me really going, wow, like there's a relationship here I need to work on, like with me. Like there is I am doing something and like my instant response of me not being able to pick something up or not being capable of it is like, what the heck is wrong with me? Or why can't I do this? Or I was so good at this and why am I not good at this? And just like
Yeah, yeah. You'd only ever known success. You'd only ever known being
yeah, and I
able to
think
do something.
and when I wasn't able, like, not making the games, it was just like, okay, well, I'm done. Or not making the, I'm not making Olympic
Mm,
games. I'm not making the team. Oh, I'm done. Like it was there was no I didn't have the tools or the framework at that point in my life, and I don't think a lot of people did at that time because it just wasn't the conversation, but I didn't have the tools or the framework to like investigate like what is that and like to dig deeper. Um and
yeah,
now I'm so glad that it's like a part of the conversation. Although it's a part of the conversation in like a really niche point of like health and fitness. And I think it's the purpose of health and fitness if we could actually like spread it out. Um, so
yeah,
so yeah, so going to a CrossFit gym kind of like sparked that whole like self investigation. How do I get better? What is this conversation in my head doing? Like, how is my mindset affecting what I'm actually physically capable of? I have a mindset. I
mm,
have, all of that. It was just kind of like a boom, a reality for me that got awakened. Basically by like doing
yeah,
something that I couldn't do and seeing other people do it, seeing other people very capable and going, okay, well, like, how can I figure that out or how can I get there? Um, and so the nature of how I am, if I'm not good at something, I will do it until I die, until I get good at it. So I just dove into the CrossFit scene. I got my level 1. I started coaching. I worked at a gym. I started working with an individual coach. And, when I started working with an individual coach, I got really, really good. And that sparked me or I guess I resonated with it because when I was swimming, I would do a bunch of different events, but I never did anything that I ever thought was really good for me. I was always doing stuff that was good for the team. I swam the 200, I swam the 100, I swam the 50, I was on every relay. So in swimming, you train really
right,
hard for almost a whole year and then you have a taper. You rest, you recover for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you go to your big meet and you like blast off, right? I never felt like I could rest and recover in that time because I was like, I had my hand in so many different events. So it was like I would rest and recover for this event, but then this event would suffer. Or I'd rest and recover for this event, and then those other events wouldn't be that great. So in CrossFit and working with somebody who like individually designed something for me, I was able to do exactly what I
mm,
needed and get exactly what I wanted out of each session and really get really close and achieve my goals in a different manner and really quickly. And then so that just kind of resonated with me, like why don't I offer that to people? Like why don't I offer that in personal training? Like I want to give you a training plan that's going to help you reach your goals based on who you are. I'm not going to have this methodology and hope you fit in. I'm going to look at you and go, okay, you want to do a high rocks competition, or you want to run an ultra marathon, or you want to, just pick up your grandkids when you're 72 and you're 58 right now, and how can I structure a program that's going to help you get there? And so that whole thing just kind of blew up for me when I got really good at CrossFit, had a coach that was helping me do that individually based on me and my training age. And then I sort of just started doing that with clients, which eventually led me to opening my own gym, which is a boutique personal training studio. We work one-on-one with people, exactly what I just said. Um, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I train people. I get to help people express themselves through movement, which is what I love doing.
yeah,
And I get to help people dive into some personal growth and development through fitness, through health, through working out for longevity, through achieving goals. And I really think, and I'm really passionate about movement and working out and training being a tool to kind of like work on yourself, to create a relationship with yourself. Um, I'm really passionate, I guess, about using fitness as a way to tune in and not just tune out. And I think kind of that's, I guess, my pillar in the community is I really would like, a lot of people just like showing up to class. I don't want to think. I don't want to do this. I just want to like do what's on the board and whatever. And I really want to break that because I think it's doing yourself a disservice when you're not using that time to really like get to know yourself, you know? We don't have a lot of time to
yeah,
really better ourselves in today's world. Like we're on the phone. Like we just talked about this.
No.
Like we need to stop wearing our Apple Watches because we're getting inundated with outside information. And
Yep.
you know, your training session, whether it's 45 minutes, whether it's 90 minutes, that's an opportunity for you to really work on the relationship you have with yourself, and not only work on like your health and your aesthetic and, you know, other things, your strength, whatever you're training towards. You can actually work on like becoming a better version of you, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Okay, so I really want to, I want to hone in on this with you. When you got to that crux in the road where it was like, okay, I've never faced this thing before, like this actual resistance, this voice in my head. What did the process look like for you overcoming that? Like, what practically or tangible things did you do, and just what was that experience
Um,
like?
First, just disclaimer, like none of this is invented by me. Like this is stuff that I've gathered. You know, I've done clinics with Ben Bergeron. I've worked with Marcus Philly. Like this is all a very big conglomerative
Great
of
guys.
just what is out there in the fitness world, and coaches that are out there that I've looked up to. So maybe the like melding of it all is mine, but like this is all bits and pieces from things that amazing humans and coaches have like laid and put the groundwork in before me. So just disclaimer
Yeah.
there. But I remember vividly wanting to cry, or maybe even crying, when I couldn't do something. Like I couldn't do a snatch or I couldn't do a push press, and I was just like, what is going on? Um, and I remember kind of like almost like a bolt of lightning of negativity, just like, oh, I can't. And like having a little bit
Mm.
of like all or nothing thinking of being like, well, if I could, I would have done it. And I remember just around the thinking around the language, right? Like, okay, so I can't do it today. I'm going to take off 2.5 pounds and I'm going to try again. Or I can't do it yet. What can I do? What kind of drill can I do to get me a little bit closer to whatever movement or skill that is that I want to get? And I think the biggest shift for
Mm.
me was, you know, the language. The I can't do it. If I cannot stop saying I can't do it, I can't do it yet. Adding a yet, right? Um,
So yeah, changing it
yeah,
just a little bit.
and language is really important. I am an advocate for how we talk to ourselves, how we talk to other people. It's I know it plays into, it sounds like woo woo, but it plays into how we live our lives. I think that your mindset and the way you talk to yourself can literally kill you. And if you're in such a deep hole. So
Yeah, I agree.
um
I agree.
and not that you're not allowed to get there. I mean, I think we've all gotten there, right? Life throws shit at you and drops bombs on you. I know you've been through some stuff. I've been through similar things too. And it's I think what it is it's the ability of, okay, we might touch those dark places, whether it's in the gym, whether it's a movement
Mm.
we can't do, whether it's a relationship ending, whether it's, you know, somebody passing away. You get into those moments and then you're able to kind of understand or reflect on your own language and then pull yourself out of it. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I hate that phrase, but at the end of it all, we're only with ourselves, right? So if you're in a dark
Mm.
place, yeah, some things may motivate you out of it or inspire you out of it, but you are responsible to pull yourself out of it. You are responsible for your confidence. You are responsible for your happiness. You are responsible for pulling yourself up by the bootstraps sometimes. Um, and I think language is really the only way that we can do that with ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
So the biggest switch for me
Yeah.
when I was like, I can't, it was just, I can't yet. What can I do to get there? What is the next thing? If my goal is to do a handstand push-up, what is literally the next thing that I can do to get me a little bit closer to whatever that is? Or the first pull-up or a push-up or whatever that goal is.
No, 100%. I think it was Ben Bergeron who actually, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the one who talks about just maximizing your day wherever you're at. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Champion's Mind or what book it was I read of his where it talks about that. But exactly to your point, it's like just taking an audit of where you're at and doing what you
Mm-hmm.
can in the
Yeah.
moment to the best of your ability. So like in that moment you can't snatch whatever way or maybe even do the movement at all. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, what can I do? And then when you have that sort of paradigm shift, it, number one,
Yeah.
you get more out of your session. So like you're wasting your time, but then you start to develop that ability to think through things differently. So when
Mm-hmm.
more problems come, it's like, oh, okay, I have this tool in my tool belt to know I don't have to do this thing specifically if I cannot do it yet. And
Mm-hmm.
I just adjust and I make the most that I
Yeah.
can out of the session. And I think it's
Yeah.
really cool that
I
you're
think
hitting on
well, he actually had a quote. I did a camp with him, and his quote at the time, like the big thing that Ben was promoting, and he's talked about this is like you don't become a champion and then start thinking like a champion, right? You don't wait until
that.
like you're good enough and then start thinking you're good enough. And that's
Oh, that's so
my
good.
biggest thing that I constantly am still working on today is the not good enough. And it was always like, oh well, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I make the Olympic Games and then I'm gonna believe in myself. Or I'm gonna wait until I'm front squatting, 200 pounds, and then I'm gonna tell people I'm strong or think that I'm strong.
Mm,
And it doesn't work that way. Like it just like you don't become something and then start thinking like it. You start thinking like it and acting like it and putting systems into place to get you to that place, whatever your goal may be, whether it's, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a high achieving individual, or where you just want to get off the couch. You start thinking about it, and then you start putting things into action, then you start creating systems, and then eventually you are that ultra marathon runner that started sitting on the couch. So to me,
yeah,
that was like a whoa. That I remember that quote being just like a wow moment of like, yeah, like I need to change the
yeah.
way I'm thinking in order to become who and what it is that I want to become. I'm not going to become that and then I'm going to change the way I'm thinking.
Sorry, I had to mute it for a second. No, 100%. And so, do you know who Alex Ramosi is?
I mean, I'm really bad with names.
No, you're good. You're good. So I'm on an Alex Ramosi kick right now, just because it's very, it's specific to my life right now. He's a business guy and he puts a lot of content out about business. But one of the things he says, and I'm so glad you said this, was you don't change who you are, your beliefs by yourself, by just shouting affirmations in the mirror. He's like, you change it by leaving a trail of undeniable doubt that
Mm-hmm.
you are who you say you are. And I love that because it ties the two together. It ties the belief part, like I'm gonna believe this about
Mm-hmm.
myself, say this about myself, but then I'm gonna also do the actions. Like it's like if I'm gonna say I'm a fit person. If you say I'm a fit person but don't go to the
Yeah.
gym, like what are we doing? But if you say I'm a fit person and go to the gym and
Mm-hmm.
then do that over and over and over, eventually you're like, I'm actually a fit person and I have all this evidence to prove it. And you got to marry the two. So I'm glad you said actions and systems
Mm-hmm.
because 100%
Yeah.
people leave that out of the equation. They just want to shout stuff in
Yeah.
the mirror and not change anything. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can actually
Yeah.
change. You got to
And the
do something.
changes, they don't always need to be something massive. Like I said, when I first started changing my mindset, it was literally adding the word yet. Like I didn't even stop saying I can't. I still said it. I said, I can't do this, but maybe I can't do it yet, you know? So it could be something super small. It doesn't always need to be this paradigm shift because it's kind of those small, you know, tokens that add up over time that end up kind of, changing your bank account. It's just making a little tiny deposit or making a little shift and developing that awareness and then kind of like working on it wider and wider and wider. It doesn't need to be this huge, massive, unsustainable flip flop. Because I think
Mm,
and this is pretty much in broad brushstrokes, but in general, whatever you're trying to do, if you have consistency with it, that's going to actually be what ends up creating that transformation, whether it's mental, psychological, spiritual, or physical. It's the consistency and the longevity that really makes the transformation stick. Yeah, you may get result from 6 weeks of, starving yourself, but, 3,600 days later, you might be back to where you first were. And it's like, well, if that didn't help me change from 10 years from now, what was the point of doing it? You know?
yeah, 1,000%. What are your thoughts on? Because I think I know we were kind of talking about this before, but your thoughts on those 6-week transformation thing, like those little quick fix things that people buy into. What do you have any
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts around that?
so there's always a pro, right? The pro may be like it may connect with somebody who really needs something to start. right? I need something that seems like it's going to help me begin. For me, anything that promises something in 6 weeks is not, in my opinion, going to be something that you can sustain. And that's my passion, is about sustainability. Like, I want people to be healthy until they die. I want them to be living independently. I want them to be able to squat. I want them to be able to get off of the ground. Um, and I want them to be able to continue to come back to this, whatever they're doing, 10 years from now. So if it's a 6 week thing that like deprives you of food or creates a negative relationship with movement or tires you out or zaps your nervous system or has you looking in the mirror every day comparing yourself, I don't truly think that it's necessarily a complete positive that you should add in your life or something that you should really marry, your health and fitness to. Yeah, it might be good to just inspire somebody to get moving, but I don't know that it necessarily will inspire somebody to stay moving for years to follow.
Yeah, yeah, and it ends up being a really tough selling point, or it ends up making our industry and like what we're selling to people a little bit tougher
Yeah,
because people
they
love
love it.
that quick fix. Like if you put out, hey, 30 days you get
Hmm.
6 pack abs, and it's like,
No,
well, who,
no.
first of all, who? Like it's not gonna happen. But second of all, like how can you guarantee that with every single
Yeah.
person? Like, what are you talking about here? And it's like it's very hard to explain to people, like, if you it's actually not hard to
Hmm.
explain, it's just hard to accept. Like, if you want change, you're gonna have to change, and it's gonna be challenging, and we're gonna have to figure out what the habits are and the systems are and all these things to make it something that you actually want to do, you like doing, and it's sustainable. To your point, like, this is
Hmm.
a lifelong thing. And the body you want, if you want aesthetics, if that's your goal, that's cool, totally.
Hmm.
It's gonna take some time. Like, it's going to take some time, and it's going to take some hard work and some dedication, and we're
Hmm.
going to have to dive into that. We're going to have to dissect the voice in your head and like all the things. And it's like it's way
Yeah.
more than just working out. We were talking about that beforehand. It's a very much a soul level like searching once you get into
Hmm.
this
I
world.
yeah, it's weird to be in this space right now because there is such just like all this like plethora of knowledge. And um to me it's like I feel like when I'm seeing, the 6 week this, or, drink this tea that, or put, castor oil on your belly button here, like whatever it is, it's like I feel like I'm dodging like trick plays in a football game. Like it's just
Yeah,
creating confusion, right? So all of these new news and maybe somewhat educational and informative things, but are really kind of like taken to the extreme. Um, I think it's just creating confusion for people. And the more that people are confused,
yeah,
the easier it is to sell something to them when I tell you you're going to get a result in 6 weeks, right? Like, if I can
yeah,
confuse you so you don't really understand that health and fitness and wellness can be this long-term thing and can be very simple investments. If I can confuse you out of that and tell you that wearing this castor oil patch is going to like grow your toenails and then you're going to be totally skinny for like 9 years, then like that's good. That's good for me as like a business person because I'm confusing. And I what I want to do is I want to remove the confusion because health,
yeah,
when we're talking about it, there's many layers, right? Like you're probably like 3 layers deep where you're like, looking at the quality of your food, you're, maybe not exposing yourself to blue light before sleep. But if we kind of zoom out and like do the basic layer of like, okay, sleep, drink water, get sun exposure, move your body in any kind of way, a 10-minute walk, um, poop and pee. Like if you're hitting those 5 things, then like, wow, all right, you're probably on your way to health. And then you can go a little bit deeper and uncover more and more and more. But it doesn't need to be something
yeah,
so confusing. It doesn't need to be um, an injection, which is going to suppress your appetite, and then you develop no relationship with food. It doesn't need to be um, a crazy high intensity workout that's going to like zap your nervous system. It doesn't need to be sauna cold plunge every day. You know, these
no,
biohackers and, really extreme tactics to stay healthy, are kind of being abused, and they're kind of pulling people away from like the basic principles that really mean health and wellness, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And actually, I'm gonna make a post about this. It's like I was talking to the guy I'm living with. It's it's exactly to your point. Sometimes people will take like say someone who's out of shape and they're not you or I, where like we would go to that third or fourth level where maybe we do look into like
Mhm.
a little red light here or a vitamin C drip there because like
Yeah.
we're kind of going deeper.
Hmm.
We've got the basics covered. But for someone who doesn't and they go to the store and they're like, you know what, today I'm gonna buy chicken instead of buying X, Y, and Z. And then they go tell a friend and the friend is like, well, you know that the chicken is not sourced by blah 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 whatever. And it's like, all right, I get it, and you might be right, and that has merit. But it's like, let's
Yeah.
just give this guy a win, because like that's a big deal. They just made that decision, and they need to start there, and then we can progress it over time. Same thing with cold therapy. I get so frustrated with this. They're like, you shouldn't cold therapy after working out because of the hypertrophy and the
Mhm.
inflammation in the body and the yada yada. It's like, did you cold therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah.
Good job. Like if you want to reverse it, cool, but don't get so dogmatic about
Mhm.
what's got to be X, Y, and Z and yada. It's like the basics.
Yeah.
Like just do it, and
Yeah.
then change over time as you learn things and
100%. And I
want to
think
adjust.
that ties even back into what we were talking about earlier of like really like training, recovery, health and wellness, working out. That's a way to tune into ourselves, right? That's a moment we're working on. Well, how does this make me feel? Not like, what does Dr. Huberman
Mm,
say about cold plunge? Or what
right.
does, this influencer say about, my daily walks or, you know, chicken, whatever it is, it's like, well, how did it make me feel? You know? Like, and
Yeah.
so again, it's sort of like, okay, stop. Sometimes we need to stop listening. Like, like there are times when it's like, all right, enough. Like, okay, so I've heard it all. I have all of these things that are firing at me from all different directions. Okay, let me choose three or one and see how I feel, right? Let me again, like use this as an opportunity to dial in, to tune in. I went to this yoga class last week. I was out of town and it was awesome. And the instructor said, and I love this, she said that our body is a guide. Our body is a constant guide, giving us signals, giving us, really a map. And what we have to do is just quiet our
Mm,
brain in order to receive the signals. So, in a way, that's what your movement can do for you, If you can quiet your brain down and like understand, like, okay, this is what my movement, this is what my training session is going to do for me, or this is what my recovery session is going to do for me. Like, how can I really like tune in and feel better about what I'm doing? And I actually I use a little rule that I picked up somewhere along the way. Because as we all know, like when you show up to train, I train alone a lot. I'm sure you train alone. We're not always motivated. Like there are days where some days I'm just like, wow, I do not want to even
yep.
look at the equipment right now. And but I know that it's good for me and I want to work out. So I kind of use a 5 minute rule of just like blood flow. I'll get on the assault bike, 5 minutes, easy. Or I'll just
Yeah.
like row and jump rope, 5 minutes. And if I'm still feeling crappy after those 5 minutes, because I've taken 5 minutes to kind of tune in, let the blood flow go, kind of let my day go. If I still feel bad, then I know, all right, today is not for me. I'm not going to work out, or maybe I'm just going to put my weight vest on. I'm going to
Yep.
walk, whatever. But if I feel good after those 5 minutes, then I know that it was kind of just like some superficial dust, right? It was like cobwebs from the
Yep.
day. It was from my work tunnel. It was from being with clients. It was from whatever. And my body feels good and I'm ready to go. So even those 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
can help you tune in to understand yourself, what you need for that day. Like 5 minutes of blood flow. Oh, I actually like really do really want to work out. Or nope, I'm not feeling it. I need to just walk or I need to go home. I need to take a nap, whatever it could be. So I really think, and
Yeah.
that's why I guess I'm so passionate about like using your training sessions, whether it's 5 minutes or the whole session, to dial in and tune into to your body.
No, that's so great. That's a really great practical tool for people to use. Something I've actually overlooked with my clients is like, so, to your point,
Yeah,
just go do the warm up. Like just move around a little bit. Just move around. Do it at a low intensity. You almost always find that you're like,
yeah,
okay, all right, I'm good. Like I'm starting to feel better. And on the days where you can't, like you just said, you can't get to that place where you feel good, then you
yeah.
know it's like, okay, I do need to rest,
Yeah.
or I do need to walk, or whatever. Get some food in, whatever it is. That's a really
Yeah,
great
and
tool for
it
people to
definitely it
use. I love
allows,
that.
so that allows your body to give you the signal. Because like again, your brain can be kind of weird, right? Like you're not always going to
Mm-hmm.
be super super highly motivated. That doesn't mean that when you are motivated it's a bad thing, or like there are weeks at a time where I come in and I'm like ready to work out, and then there's a random
Yep.
day where I'm just like, man, I feel like a slug because I've been, on my computer, or been with clients, or I haven't moved my body enough, or I've been in the car, or coming off of a travel, or whatever it is. But if I take those 5 minutes to really let my body guide me and kind of shut my brain down, um, I usually find like 90% of the time I feel good enough to go work out. But there are those moments when I
Yeah.
don't, and then I can honor that, and I can really, that helps me work on the relationship with myself. That helps me work on my health and fitness and wellness for a long period of time. Those are the things that make it sustainable.
Yeah.
Not pushing through because it says I need to do 2 workouts a day for 75 days in a row and da 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 da. Like that's not the case.
Oh yeah. 75 hard. Yeah. Don't even get me started on
No,
that. It drives me
my
crazy.
favorite
I'm like,
comeback to
like,
the seven, my whatever 75 hard is like, all right, give me 3,650, like pretty good. Show me the difference between those two. Because 3,650 pretty good is 10 years of work. And somebody who's put 10 years of pretty good work probably looks like me, probably looks like you, probably looks pretty fit, and probably is pretty healthy, and their biomarkers are probably pretty dang good. Where 75 hard, who
yeah.
knows? Most of the people who I know that really get into it have a lot of swings in their life in general, and they probably wish they could have some more
Yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah. It becomes something they just get very dogmatic about. Like they're so gung ho on it. If they miss a day, they
No, but
start the
that's not
whole thing over.
sustainable.
Or like they get extreme. It's not sustainable. And this would be my opinion of it. I think it automatically sets you up for failure because you're already seeing this like end result. You're like, well, by this time I should be X, Y, and Z. So you're
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to the end. So you get to the end, and then you're like, well, what
Yeah.
now? And you still feel lost. And it's like the point of it, I
Mm-hmm.
get, is to build habits and all the things that get you moving. But it's better to just take
Mm-hmm.
a balanced approach and just focus on daily. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do daily,
Yeah.
and just do that.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a really healthy
100%. Because I
approach for
think
people.
that even if you did it, Bible 75 hard, you did all the things, you read the pages every day, you took the pictures, you went on the movements, you drank the water. Okay, you had the transformation. How many people are capable of sustaining that transformation now? A lot of them want to just go off the rails because they're like, enough. Like I didn't have alcohol. I didn't eat what I wanted to eat. I'm tired of reading every day. Like throw the book out the window,
Yeah,
and it's I mean, I'm sure there are those that are highly successful, and those are like the Oprah Winfreys of everyone. They're like, very rare. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think, you know, it's those things can be looked at as very positive because they teach good habits, but they don't teach the habit building system that you need, which is like the smaller steps. Um, the smaller, more tangible things. Like, if you are a person who struggles reading and you want to read a book a week, you need to start with like, hey, I'm going to read a sentence a day. Just a sentence. If I read eight,
Yeah.
hold yourself
Something
accountable,
you can't fail on. Yeah.
So easy.
Something so
Yeah,
easy you cannot
exactly.
fail.
And then if more than likely, if you pick up the book after you brush your teeth and you want to read, a sentence, you're more than likely will read the whole page. Right. And then all of a sudden you got a page done. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like if you can give yourself a tangible, very, very, very achievable goal to do, then you can carry that forward versus like compile on these huge tasks that are almost insurmountable. Definitely for me, that would be unsustainable. I couldn't live my life that way, um, as trying to fit in the parameters of 75 hard. Um, I couldn't maintain that transformation. I would transform quickly back into something maybe I didn't want to be where I started. So I think,
Yeah.
the basis of developing a system that is sustainable with like, smaller bites is the way to kind of really make the transformation stick.
It really is. It's it's just those small, like
Mm-hmm.
there's small habits, just small things done daily
Yeah.
lead to big results. Like that's it. As cliche as that is,
Yeah.
it's just so true. Just set your life up in a way where you can't fail on something that you want to try and succeed at, and just focus on those systems, those processes. Don't overwhelm yourself, and you'll grow into more over time, because it'll just become your base. It's like, this is
Yeah.
easy, I can do more, and you'll just keep stacking and
Yeah.
stacking and stacking and stacking. And next thing you know, you're the person that, like, hey dude, you've read 50 books. It's like, wow, I
Hmm.
read 50 books. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It just takes
I think
time.
that's the one thing people overlook is that there is a time investment, and you have to be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. What's your process? So when someone comes to you for personal training, what does your process look like in, I guess, analyzing them and figuring out, like, what's the best approach for them?
Yeah,
Do
so
you have a system that you or
typically
you
I meet
checks?
them in person. They'll come to my gym. We'll do just like a meeting in person. Like, hey, just look at my space. See if you want to work out in here. Look at me. Look at my face. Look at my eyeballs. See if we vibe. If this is like something that's going to work. And then from there, I set up
Yeah.
basically their first session is a glorified like movement assessment. So run them through some like, range of motion tests, some stuff stolen from active life, some stuff stolen from like CrossFit level 1, level 2, and I just kind of like meld them
Mm-hmm.
through, just trying to like see how they move. Right, I want to see how their knees work, how their ankles work. I just want to like make sure that there's no like glaring injuries, because I have a physical therapist who works in my gym. So if there's something like out of my scope or I think needs to be addressed, then I can like actually send them to her, and then we can work together on creating like their homework or their like, any physical therapy stuff that is more of like an exercise can be developed into their training regimen that I write for them. So typically,
Right.
most people are healthy enough to just start training right away. So through that first like movement assessment, we talk about goals, we talk about where they're at. I'm actually doing one today. I have a client he's 72 and his goal is to climb Mount Rainier. So we're doing the movement assessment, and then we're going to go through,
Cool.
like some leg endurance stuff and some lung burner stuff. He's going to learn how to use the assault bike. He's going to learn how to walk the sled backwards. He's going to learn how to ruck. I mean, everything is really individually based, and it's about taking that first session and the first session in the meeting and really getting to know the client and what their goals are, what their life is like, and then kind of building the program from there. Um, the best example
Mm.
of this I have is I had a client years ago, and this is kind of what helped me learn more about it. And at the time, I wore a Whoop, and she was wearing a Whoop, so she was like on my team. Which a Whoop is just it's a heart rate tracking device that kind of tells you in general like a strain level. And her
Yeah.
resting heart rate was like barely under 100 all the time, and I was like, "What is going on?" Her job, she's a 911 dispatcher. So she works for 911. She's constantly listening to people panic. They're calling her in a state of emergency, right?
Oof.
Somebody's in a car accident.
Yeah.
Somebody's trapped
Yeah.
under a dumpster. Blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of stress that she's dealing with. And she was in chronic inflammation. She was like almost getting gout. She had all this pain in her elbows and her wrists. And I went like, you cannot train, like we cannot dump more cortisol in your body. You need to do like walk and very regulated and slow bodybuilding. And I did that with
Yeah.
her, and all of her inflammation went away. All of, like her whole life just
Uh,
started to change. And it wasn't that she wasn't working out.
yeah.
It just, we took this high intensity away from her because she never rested. She never got to rest. Even when she was resting, she was stressing.
Mm.
So it was like, okay, why am I going to put more stress on you and hope I give you adaptation? It's not going to happen because your body is not recovering enough. So that client really inspired me to investigate what is the lifestyle that's going along with my clients. Like, what are they doing? Like, can they recover from this training session?
Mm.
If they can't, then I have to change the training session. They don't have to stop working out. I, as a
Yeah.
coach, need to look at this and go, okay, I can't deliver this much intensity because their body's not going to be able to recover from it, you know? So that's
Yeah.
along with that first session, the first two sessions, just getting to know them, understanding their lifestyle, and then, always having that conversation around what's going on, not only in the gym, but outside of the gym.
Yeah, it's all tied together. It's so crazy. For the longest time, I thought it wasn't. Like, well, I thought, I'll show you how big my ego is sometimes. I thought that I was the one that could get away with, if I'm emotionally taxed, I can still go train hard. And it was like, this past year or 2 years, I've realized, like, I cannot. Maybe at 20 I could. I cannot. Like several times I've hurt my back. Not bad,
Enough. Yeah.
but bad enough. I just knew it. My subconscious was like, nope, you're stressed. You need to rest. You need to handle this thing that's emotionally taxing you, and you need to go deal with it. And I was like, all right. It's like, my body just broke me until I listened. And I was like, okay, I get it. I'm sorry. I get it. Please forgive me. Can you heal? Let's keep moving. So like, to exactly to your point, it's like lifestyle dramatically affects your ability to train in the gym, and you've got to handle both
for sure. And your lifestyle is always gonna, the season is always going to change. You might be in a hard season and not be able to train how you want to train, and you have to like make some changes, and then you might come into like, wow, things are like super smooth and I'm able to like really really push it in the gym because I'm not having as much stress or intensity outside of the gym, so I can like really, so it's a ebb and a flow, and it's always kind of that wave. But I really think like you only get the opportunity to even understand it if you're tuning in. If you're just showing up to the class and doing the same thing over, like, and not taking the opportunity to go, okay, how does my body feel? Do I feel like I'm made of glass? Do I feel like I need WD-40 on all my joints? There might be something going on, and it might not be that the programming is bad. It might be that you're dealing with a death in the family, or that your business is super stressed, or a myriad of things that like life is always dropping bombs on us. So I think, as we mature and as you mature with health and fitness and training, you're trying to implement, okay, I still want to train hard, but I need to train smarter, right? And if I train smarter, I can train hard longer. And if I can train hard longer, I'm probably going to live longer. So I think if you can kind of like, hang your hat on that and go, okay, like I'm okay with, not having to train so hard because like I'm dealing with some emotional stuff and I just need to walk today, or I can't, you know, not having this like exercise addiction and this need to have like that like complete adrenaline dump after every single training session. And know that that's not necessarily healthy. Just because you're on your back and breathing hard does not necessarily mean that you're moving closer to a good health marker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, especially for someone like you or I, who like we competed and we like lived and breathed intensity. It's like it can be very challenging to accept walking out of the gym and being like, I got like way more in the tank. You feel like it's got to be empty every time. It is very challenging to accept that it doesn't have to be like that all the
Definitely
time.
not. I mean, I think now I probably touch that once a week. I touch that feeling. Yeah, I touch that feeling once a week of like done. Like I'm on the ground, bacon sizzle after a training session. But the other training sessions, I don't. And what I have learned by tuning into myself is that I feel good. Like I remember when I would coach CrossFit and I was competing in CrossFit, no marker, nothing bad against it. But I felt I would go to demonstrate for the class and I was like, I literally cannot even like hang from the pull-up bar. I could barely do a PVC pipe good morning. I'm so sore. My body is glass. And now, like, if a client asks me to do anything, I can like pick up the 100-pound sandbag and clean it. No warm up, Jaguar style. Like, I'm good because my body is good. I'm in a healthier situation. But it did take me, you know, learning those lessons. It took me, riding the lightning in maybe some injuries and then getting out of it and then shifting my training and shifting my mentality. And now that I can like self-reflect and go, wow, like I actually feel good. And it's not just because, I'm older now. It's not because of anything other than like I've really shifted my approach to training and I've started to honor my body more. I've started to pay attention to the guide that it's giving me. I've started to pay attention to those signals, and not only like the signals of like, oh, I'm sore, but like how do I feel? Am I low energy? Am I like distracted? Or my feet on the ground? Or all those things. Like just really paying attention has helped me shape and change my training.
Yeah, yeah. So what does your training look like now? Like on a day-to-day basis, like what kind of stuff do you do? Do you still do traditional like CrossFit Metcons, or you do more like bodybuilding with like machine
So
conditioning?
so
What does it look like?
in my gym, my personal training gym, it's called Sunmade Fitness. It's I took like basically a CrossFit gym and I like shrunk it down to like 1,200 square feet. But I have like 20-foot ceilings. So I have a big rig, I have ropes and rings, and so it looks really cool, but it's also very small. But I really identify and resonate with your body is a machine and moving the weights around and moving your body and then understanding like free weights, not necessarily like,
Mm-hmm.
a stationary globo gym type of deal. So I do functional bodybuilding. Like I said, I used to work with Dom Scalzo and Marcus Philly and Persist. I've done OPEX. That was kind of like that was my first coach and kind of guided me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're person.
So what I'm doing now is a lot of functional bodybuilding, and then I'll throw in either some aerobic capacity stuff, some like interval stuff, or I'll throw in a Metcon every once in a while. Um,
Yeah,
and right now, I had a personal goal of doing, because it's kind of on trend, of like doing a high rocks just to see what this thing is, just to see if I like it, just to see. So I've just added in a little bit of running. And then one thing that's unique to where I'm at, actually, I live in Jupiter, Florida, which is kind of close to the water on the east side of Florida. It's about an hour and a half north of Miami. And there's a huge paddleboard
mm,
community and a small surf community here. So being a swimmer, I learned how to surf and I learned how to stand up paddleboard. So I've been doing paddleboard races. There's like an 80-mile race from Bahamas, Bimini, Bahamas to Lake Worth, Florida. And it's a foundation, or it's a fundraiser
yeah,
foundation for cystic fibrosis. So it's like a big event. So that's put on every year. So one of my goals was to kind of like bridge the paddleboard and like surf community with the fitness community, because I mean,
yeah,
they're amazing. Like both communities are epic, but they don't necessarily like intermingle. And I'm like, why not? Like the people on the paddle boards are freaking fit. They're super healthy, all
yeah.
ages. And the people in the gym, it's like, why not go out and take advantage of this beautiful place that we live? Like, so I've really started to work with some of the like head people in the community on the paddleboard side to kind of like start to bridge those two communities, the gym, the fitness community, and the water community. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. It's a little like passion project, and it's a way that I like to train twice a week. So I'm on the ocean, twice a week, or in the rivers here twice a week. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, the ocean is so like
Yeah.
the ocean is so therapeutic. It's awesome. It's kind of
It is
terrifying
terrifying.
because like there's some really
Yeah.
scary creatures in there. And we don't even know like 95% of it, but it's beautiful
Mhm.
and it's therapeutic and get in the sun and you're swimming. It's like
Yeah.
it's a lot
Yeah,
of fun. That's cool.
that was a big shift for me because from competing in CrossFit and just the amount of time that it takes to be, I mean, I'm sure you're training to make semifinals, but like the amount of time that it takes in the gym to like be that fit, it kind of took me away from what else is going on around here. Like I was in the gym twice a day
Yeah,
Saturdays, like I wouldn't really go out. And I didn't ever really feel like I was kind of like making any roots. And I'm like, this is my community. This is where I'm living. This is where, and I'm from California where like everything is outside. Like we would go to the river, we would work out outside, everything. Like my parents didn't have an air conditioner. Like outside was inside.
yeah,
So being just in a gym, I was like, I need to do something that like grounds me. And what grounded me in California was, being in nature. So what can I do in Florida, in the area that I live, that's going to bring me closer to nature? And then I found the paddleboarding thing, and I was like, well, this is freaking awesome. Um, and then I
that's
found out
cool.
that there's like a competitive element to it, not just like a leisurely thing, but there's like races. And I'm like, okay, well, I identify with that. So it just was like, well, this like beautiful evolution of what it is, and the people are amazing, and then they're healthy, they're health oriented, and then I was like, well, I can provide them the service of the gym and like learning functional movement, and then they can provide my people with like this amazing sport, which could be leisure, which could be competitive, which could just be like something that makes you connected to the community. And I've been
Yeah.
kind of diving in ever since, I guess. So yeah.
No, that's so cool. That's awesome. So it sounds like you've got a
Yeah.
pretty solid
I mean,
balance right now. Really help.
being a gym owner, there is, it is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
I love it very, very much. But I think what the best thing about the water and paddleboarding for me is because it's so connected to where what I grew up doing is swimming. It just grounds me.
Yeah.
It's very grounding for me, and it fills my cup in a little bit of a different way. You know, I'm outside in nature, my heart rate's up, I'm sweating, I'm laughing, I'm with people, I'm building connections. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, that's fucking health. You know, if you're able to do
It
all of
is
those
100%.
things, you're at a point of health and wellness, right? And if you can carry that over and over and over and over and over again and carry that forward in your life, I think that's kind of like a marker to have. So that's why I'm kind of passionate about keeping it as a routine as part of my life.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Let me ask you this. I'm curious your opinion on it. I think I know what you'll say, but I'm just curious. So, do you think that you can separate the two, meaning gym from activity that's healthy? Because I personally, I don't think you can. I think you have to still go to the gym and actually like elicit a stimulus on the body, whether it's, lifting weights or whatever. But also, you can get a really strong stimulus from activity, whether it's hiking or paddleboarding, whatever. That can be very similar. I think some people go the
Hmm.
extreme in either way, and I think it can be
Yeah.
both, and I think it should be both. But I'm
No, I mean, I
curious your
think there
thoughts on
should be a marriage between the two. I don't think, from my experience of just doing one, right? I just did the gym when I was competing in CrossFit. That was it.
it.
I have a way healthier mindset now that I include an activity that's not just gym, you know, twice a week. And I'm able to do that cool activity because I go to the gym. I drive a Bronco and I have to put a paddleboard over my head, like, and lift it off, right? I could not do that
Yeah,
with terrible swimming shoulders. I could not do that if I didn't go to the gym and do crossover symmetry and learn how to overhead press and learn how to brace correctly. Or maybe I could do that for a while and all of a sudden my back would be injured, right? I can't be doing that when I'm 53.
right.
I might be hurting myself unless I'm maintaining and taking care of the gym. It's so funny you bring this up because I feel like I'm talking a million miles an hour, but my one of my funny sayings in the gym, a lot of the gyms say, "Oh, best hour of your day at the gym, best." And I'm like, "No, fuck that. We are the worst hour of your day. We're the worst hour of your day because your life is so freaking cool and you're so fit and capable because you put in the time, because you put in this 1 hour, you're able to do amazing things. You're able to go mountain biking. You're able to lift the board off your car. You're able to pick up your two kids, shove them in a stroller and take them down to, the park or on the trails or whatever it is. Like, this is the worst hour that you're in here
Love it.
suffering, quote unquote, like,
Mm.
because now you've developed this really cool life because you're healthy, And so that's kind of like my stand on it. I definitely think that nature is a part of being healthy, 100%. Like, we are beings on a magnetic marble flying through space. There is something to be said about is what is growing out of this marble, right? Like, there's something to be said about connecting with it.
No, I agree with that 100%. I've never heard it put like that, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah, the point of it is to be able to
Yeah.
go do cool things.
Yeah.
So
Like,
go do cool things.
exactly.
Go have
That
fun.
doesn't mean don't go to the gym. It means go to the gym with an intention of living this really cool, healthy, amazing life, and then taking that life and sharing it with other people and connecting with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so awesome. Last question for you because I'm curious. I just thought of this since we're talking about like life out of the gym. A lot of people go to the gym to justify like drinking. I'm sure you experience that. What are your thoughts around that? And do you partake in the drinking of the alcohol every now and then?
So I like totally missed the boat on drinking because I was training for Olympic trials when I was a swimmer, and I was like, I'm leaving no stone unturned. Like, I'm fighting for hundredths of a second. I do not want to risk anything. So when everyone developed their like alcoholic palate in college, I didn't do anything. Um, and then I ended
Wow.
up being with somebody who was sober. So all through my 20s, I never drank. I think I was 30, and I think I had two alcoholic beverages by the time I was 30. So
That's good.
I've had drinks. I don't drink. I feel like absolute dog crap, and I have no palate for it. Like to me, I'm like a 5-year-old. Like it just doesn't work for me. It really doesn't. Um, I do like being social and I do like going out. But for me, alcohol makes me feel so crappy, and I'm really good at playing the tape forward when it comes to like making choices. uh, I'm like, man, like
Mm.
I'm gonna be sick tomorrow. I gotta walk my dog. I gotta do that. Like I just don't want to do it. So it's very, very, very rare that I will actually like partake um, in alcohol. And for me, it's just that's how it works for me. It's just minimized. It's minimized and it's minimized for me in my life. And I think if you can minimize alcoholic consumption as much as possible, that it's only going to do you a service to minimize it. The more you drink, the harder it's going to be to achieve mental clarity. The harder it is going to be to achieve your aesthetic goals. And I'm a firm believer in both with food and alcohol. You do not earn the right for it. We do not earn the right to eat. Like I have the right to eat because I'm a human being and I need it to function because I am like a car that needs gasoline, you know? Um,
Yep.
and I think alcohol can kind of be put into that same thing. It's like, well, do you want to put really shitty gas into your Ferrari, or do you want to put like, the high octane shit? So
Yeah.
I kind of would put that in the same thing, and the same thing as far as like quality of food too. um but I think alcohol is a really tricky subject because so many people need it and they love it, and it gives them some kind of like social release. I feel really fortunate that I don't need that. Like I can go out, I can dance, and I can have fun, and I don't necessarily need something to like get me going. So it's hard for me to relate that way. But I would say if anybody is thinking about like, hey man, I don't know that I don't know that I have a healthy relationship with this, or I'm using it too much, or I really have these other goals, I would try to just minimize it as much as possible. And there's plenty of mocktail drinks out there. There's plenty of spirits that are made with like adaptogens that can be more healthy and can still give you like the vibe of maybe you're drinking something. Um, or just hey, like if you're gonna have cocktails, like have a cocktail, have a seltzer water, like try to like give yourself something, a little bit of a break, so all of a sudden when you think you've had 6 drinks, you really only had like 3 alcoholic drinks or whatever it is. So there's plenty of tricks out
Yeah.
there, and I do believe that the more you can minimize it, the better. I do not think you should punish yourself for it the next day. I don't believe that with anything like the gym, and again being able to move your body. It's not about a punishment, right? This is about a gift, and
Mm.
anyone who's laying in a hospital or had an injury before knows that being able to move your body is a gift, right? Being able to have your health in general is a gift. So do not use that as a crutch to punish yourself for maybe having too much to eat or having too much to drink. Maybe just note, okay, I had too much and I don't want to do that. What's a tool I can use for the next time so I don't make those same choices?
Yeah. No, that's really good. Yeah, people will definitely they'll punish themselves. They'll go in there and they'll do the craziest workout. Like
Yeah.
it's a big yo-yo. It's another
Yeah.
version of yo-yoing. You drink, you drunk, you feel terrible. I'm gonna go make up for it by doing X, Y, and Z. When in reality, it's like just get back to the
Yeah.
normal routine and
Hmm.
consistency. But yeah, let's cut the alcohol consumption down a little bit on the weekends because it's
Yeah.
it's gonna affect you. Your hormones, you're just gonna feel like trash.
Yeah. And
It's
and
never good.
really, I mean the research I've read about it's not even necessarily the calories, it's what it does to your sleep. So like the alcohol consumption, yeah, of course you're getting extra calories, but like you're really screwing up your sleep for a longer period of time. And that's kind of like your main having good sleep hygiene is one of the like main pillars of like just maintaining a good health marker, and it can affect so many other things. So I think if you really want to party, or you really want to have like a night out with your guys or whatever, like just plan for it, and then try to like put some systems into place, like all right, like I know I'm going out and I know I want to have a couple of drinks. I'm not going to punish myself for it because I know I'm going to veer off my path a little bit but come right back in. And then try to get as best sleep as possible, try to rehydrate as best possible. And then just it's kind of like you're doing this, you're not punishing yourself, you're just getting yourself back to your road you know
Yeah, no, I think there's even like a. So do you know who Ben
yeah.
Greenfield is? I'm sure you've heard of him. He's like
Hmm.
a well-known biohacker, but he was talking about there's like this supplement you can take. I can't remember the name, but it actually like combats the chemical that's produced in the body that leads to the hangover and makes you feel like trash, and so it can prevent the hangover the next day and all this stuff. And I was like, that's a pretty useful tool for people, I'm sure. I don't know what the name of it is, so I'm not helping anybody right now. But there's stuff out there that can be helpful. But again, don't use it as a crutch to like, oh, I'm gonna go get hammered. It's like
Yeah, for
understand its
sure. And
place.
I think it's okay. Like, hey, like I know I'm not going to feel that good tomorrow. So, I mean, at least for me, I'm like, all right, well, I know I'm not going to feel that good the next day. So, if I'm going to make this investment to like have a few drinks or stay up late or whatever it is, I'm just going to do it a couple of times a year. And they're going to be like really important days. It's going to be like somebody's wedding or somebody's birthday, or, it's just, to me, it's an intentional thing. It's not just like, oh, well, I'll let the night get away from
Yeah.
me. It's no, like I meant, like I wanted to have a good time and I wanted to do that. And usually even the times that I have set aside and been like, all right, I'm gonna do that, I end up only having like one drink anyway, and then I'm like, all right, well, that was good, I'm done. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I can have a few sips of wine and I start feeling
Yeah.
buzzed, and I'm like, I'm good. I like this.
Yeah,
Perfect. I'll just stay right here.
for sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, I was curious your thoughts on that, but
Of
thank you
course.
for your time today. And I think people are going to get a lot out
I
of
hope so.
this. You definitely dropped the hammer. Like you just sharing a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and just like it gives people. I think it can be liberating for people and freeing for people to not feel so
Yeah.
dogmatic about it, and just have a different perspective at their fitness and their health and their wellness. So
Yeah, for
so
sure. It's a
seriously, thank you
tool
for
to
that.
help you be a human being, to help you be alive. Like your body is a tool, and moving it is a form of using the tool.
That's so awesome. Where can people find you on Instagram or
Yeah,
social
I mean,
media if
I
they
am
want to
like
reach out? Any
only
questions?
on Instagram. I have no other social media. But my personal page is at Stevenson Wit. So my last name
Okay.
Stephenson Wit, and then my gym is at Sunmade Fitness. So
So,
SONMADE Sunmade Fitness. Kind of like my last three letters of my last name are Sun, Stevenson. So that's my gym.
cool. I like it. Very awesome. All right, you guys. Yeah, if you have any questions for Whitney, hit her up. She'd be a valuable resource. If you have any questions for me, please hit me up. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. If you watch on YouTube, you guys enjoy the rest of your day or night or whatever. And as always, keep moving forward.